I don't know. Where do you want to start? For me, the outflows data is kind of key because, at least for me, that's the very little that I've got to go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one area where we can know exactly where money is moving, right? That's one of the benefits of ETFs. We know exactly how much money is going in or going out. And like you said, over the last 10 or so trading days, it's been a significant outflows, net outflows, but it's been about $1 billion in outflows. And that's what ETFs are built to do. They're built to take in money and see money go in and out. And they're basically, overall, they're going to track the underlying asset. That said, these things, since they launched in January, have still taken in about $15 billion. So yes, $1 billion out over the last 10 or so trading days is a big deal, but it's not enough to cause the kind of correction that we're seeing in the market right now with Bitcoin trading under 62,000.
As you know, James, I just got back from a vacation, and while I was away, I was kind of braced for the idea that there might be some more traction or news around ETH spot ETF, Ethereum spot ETF. And I came back and nothing had really happened. And we continue the status quo that we're expecting some movement in the coming weeks. What kind of a consideration is that right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, based on what we're seeing in the markets with pricing, I don't think anyone's really paying attention to the fact that we're going to get Ethereum spot ETFs. Our over-under date, to try and figure out when these things are going to launch right now, is July 2nd. We think the SEC is going to get those filings off their plate before the July 4th weekend. That's just our guess. There's no guarantee. No matter what, they will launch some point this summer. So that is, again, only a matter of time that people are not really kind of focused on the fact that that's happening. Because Ethereum is also down, as you kind of hinted at. It's any stocks related to Bitcoin or crypto, Ethereum is down. But they are going to launch at some point in the next couple of weeks, and we think it'll happen before July 4th, but there's no guarantee on that front. That said, I would add that all these issuers, they just had to file a whole bunch of amendments to these ETFs. So they had to submit a bunch of new documentation to the SEC, and all of those came in on Friday, right around market close. So the SEC has some new stuff to get through, and it could take a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then we'll know for sure when these things are going to launch.
If we try and marry those 2 points of discussion together, the outflow data we have from Bitcoin, well, I think you said not paying attention, but let's say lack of activity in gearing up for ETH ETF. Is it a case of like, well, if I'm an investor and I'm open-minded to putting money to work in different places, I'm holding out to wait for ETH? Is there a close relationship between Bitcoin spot ETF flows and I guess the anticipation of a new product to come?
It'll be very interesting to see what people do. Obviously, there's a lot of people that have put money to work in those Bitcoin ETFs. They're the most successful launches in ETF history across the world. So are people going to say, I'd rather have a sort of index exposure to cryptocurrency? Do I believe in Bitcoin more than Ethereum or Ethereum more than Bitcoin? And we'll see those numbers come out once these things launch. We'll see what the flows do. We were we had strong convictions that these Bitcoin ETFs were going to be successful. And even still, the numbers that we saw come out in the months since they launched kind of blew our expectations out of the water. Like I said, we're about 15 billion now. We thought 15 billion was going to be the first year of flows for these Bitcoin ETFs. And that was pretty strong indications of what we thought was going to happen. And it looks like we don't know what's going to happen between now and the rest of the year. But it'll be interesting to see what people do with these Ethereum ETFs when they ultimately do launch. I'm more inclined to think that I don't know. We view these things as kind of satellite positions in portfolios. People, in our minds, we are assuming are not putting significant capital to work, 50% of their portfolios. So if they're doing something like 3 to 5%, like we're hearing from these issuers are getting from their clients, maybe they just add a couple of percentage points onto Ethereum. Maybe they sell a little Bitcoin and buy Ethereum, but we won't know until these things launch. And even then, we won't exactly know what people are doing. We can just kind of read the tea leaves and get kind of an inkling of what's going on.
You're pretty good at reading the tea leaves. Okay, so on the beach, I wasn't talking about Ethereum ETFs. We were talking about interest rates whenever, wherever. When I look at digital assets or crypto as a market broadly, there seems to be, in the pullback of recent weeks, a concern about rates, but just generally this sense that we look at the crypto market as a reflection of risk appetite going forward and whatever the Fed will or won't do. What's your math on that?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is, one, this thing, these assets, there's a lot of underlying belief that people have in these assets, right? But also they are pure momentum. There's a lot of momentum at play behind this. So when we see moves like this, it's pretty standard to see big moves. I was looking at some of the numbers for the 2017 bull market for Bitcoin and crypto and the 2020 bull market for crypto. It's very, very, very common to see many pullbacks of 10% or more. In both cases, we saw pullbacks of 25 to 30% or more before we hit those ultimate all-time highs. So this is a very volatile market. I think the one thing hitting right now is Mt. Gox, which was a crypto exchange that went bankrupt in 2014. We just got announcements that they're going to start releasing those coins. And I think people are worried about the potential of $9 billion worth of Bitcoin hitting the markets and getting sold. I don't think there's a lot of caveats here and there about how much money is actually going to get dumped on the market. But I think that's really kind of like we've already in this kind of sideways to downtrend for Bitcoin. And now we're getting this news of Mt. Gox releasing coins next month, potentially. And I think that's just kind of spooking markets here a little bit.